Hi everyone, welcome to this new video. In this video, we will just see hypothesis testing, like what is hypothesis testing and what is null hypothesis and the alternate hypothesis. So these are the two types of hypothesis we used to create while doing a hypothesis testing. So we will just discuss what is null and what is alternate hypothesis, and we will just try to understand with an example. I will just try to make you understand in a clear and simple manner. So make sure to watch this video till the end. And also, so I used to create many such kind of videos. So make sure to like this video and also subscribe to the channel for further more videos. So with that, let's start this. So before discussing null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis, we should discuss what is hypothesis actually. So generally, hypothesis means it's a claim, right? It's a claim or assumption. It's an assumption, or let's say a claim, right? This is hypothesis. So we are just assuming something, we are just claiming something. So that's hypothesis. And that claim or assumption should be tested, right? We should not make an assumption, or we should not make a claim which cannot be tested. So let's understand, like, what's the statement which can be tested, what's the statement which cannot be tested. So let's understand that. So for example, let's take, I will just say a statement like petrol prices, right? Petrol prices are higher than 100 rupees, right? So 100 rupees, this is the statement I just made. Petrol prices are more than 100 rupees. So this is the statement, first statement I just made, first hypothesis I just made, and I will just make another hypothesis. Petrol prices might cross 100 rupees. So you can see the first statement, petrol prices are greater than or more than 100 rupees. Like petrol prices might cross 100 rupees. This is the second hypothesis I just made. So if you just check the first hypothesis, we can able to measure, right? We can able to, we're just making a statement that petrol prices are greater than 100 rupees. So we will just collect the data of the existing prices available in different states, and we can able to understand that, like, whether the petrol prices are greater than 100 or not. So this statement is testable. We can able to test this statement. So this can be called as hypothesis here. So that's the hypothesis. So, and if you just take the second statement, petrol prices might cross 100 rupees, right? So if you just check the, if you just see the second statement, here we just have might, right? Might. So we are not sure. We are not sure about it will just cross or it will not cross, right? We are not sure. So this is not a hypothesis. This is not a hypothesis. So when you're just making an hypothesis for any problem statement, you should not, like, you should follow this method, like it should be testable. So that's you should want to remember when it comes to hypothesis. So that's the hypothesis. So now let's understand how can we just, like, what are the different types of hypothesis we can just have, like when you're just doing hypothesis testing. So what are the different types of hypothesis we just have? So we just have, number one is null hypothesis, and number two is alternate hypothesis, right? So we'll just discuss one by one. So number one, null hypothesis. So how can we just define a null hypothesis? So what should be the criteria for that? So for example, so let's understand this with an example. So for example, let's say you just have two groups, right? This is like, let's take this as, so let's take this as class, right? Class, and these are the boys, and these are the girls, right? So now you just want to prove that there is a difference between the heights between the like the boys and girls. For example, let's take the average height of boys is mu1, and let's take the average height of girls is mu2. So you just want to prove that mu1 is not equal to mu2, right? So you just want to prove this. So for this, you just want to make an assumption, right? First you just want to make an general assumption, first assumption you just want to make. So that is null hypothesis. So generally when you're just creating or assuming a null hypothesis, it just generally we used to take a statement to prove that there is no difference. So the null hypothesis is to prove that there is no difference, there is no effect. So these kind of statements all we used to consider in null hypothesis. For example, let's say, so let's take this example. So in null hypothesis, so we used to define that there is no effect, right? There is no difference. So there is no difference. Both mu1 and mu2 are equal. So this is the statement we used to take in null hypothesis. So by the way, the symbol which we use for null hypothesis is H naught. So this is what we used to use for representation of null hypothesis. And you can see, as I have mentioned, in null hypothesis we used to assume a statement which shows that there is no different, there is no effect, there is like like everything is equal. So these kind of statements we used to consider in null hypothesis. So that's null hypothesis, right? So for this example, we just taken H naught, that is null hypothesis is mu1 is equal to mu2. So that's the assumption. We just assume that mu1 is equal to mu2. And similarly, alternate hypothesis. So alternate hypothesis, right? Alternate hypothesis, which is quite opposite to the null hypothesis. For example, let's say you just taken mu1 is equal to mu2 here. So here mu1 is not equal to mu2. So for example, let's say, like, since we just taken mu1 is equal to mu2, in alternate hypothesis, it's quite simple, right? We used to take mu1 not equal to mu2. So that's this null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. And by the way, like, similarly, the alternate hypothesis will be represented by HA or H1, right? So we used to represent alternate hypothesis by these two representations. So yeah, like HA is mu1 not equal to mu2, right? So this is alternate hypothesis. I hope you understood like what is null hypothesis, what is alternate hypothesis. So now what we should do, we just create for the problem statement, we just have null hypothesis and we also created alternate hypothesis. So now what you just want to do, so you just want to perform some certain kind of tests, right? As I have mentioned in my previous videos, like we used to conduct t-test, ANOVA, chi-square, like the different kind of tests we just have. So we used to perform all these kind of tests, and based on that, based on the results which we just obtained from that test, we used to either reject the null hypothesis or we may accept it, right? So that's you just want to remember. So that's all for this video. I hope you understood like what is hypothesis, like what is hypothesis, what is null hypothesis, what is alternate hypothesis, right? So yeah, this is all when you just combine all these steps, right? The hypothesis, create like the generation of hypothesis, like assuming the hypothesis and creating the null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis and testing that using different tests we just have, and based on that taking the decision, like whether to reject the null hypothesis or to accept it. So all these combinedly called as hypothesis testing. So yeah, I have just given a basic overview of hypothesis testing and like the basic terms like null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. So I hope this video is helpful for you. In the upcoming videos, we will just discuss two types of errors, right? Like the type 1 error and type 2 error we just have in this hypothesis testing. So we will just discuss that, and also we just have different kind of tests I just have, like which I have just previously mentioned, and also we'll just try to understand what is p-value. So we will just discuss all those things in the future. So yeah, make sure to subscribe to the channel and also like this video if you feel this useful. So yeah, that's all for this video. I will just see you in the next video. Until then, take care and thanks for watching.